Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Aztec, and once again joined by Nero the Hero.
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, you're becoming a regular guest on my channel. It's almost like this isn't just my channel anymore. It's like you're a permanent
Well,
fixture.
yeah, well, it's always a pleasure to be here. I like chatting with you. What can I say?
Well, I guess unless people out there have been living under a rock, E3 happened. A lot of stuff went down,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I can sum up like the big announcement of the Xbox Scorpio, the most powerful game console ever created,
Ever.
as one massive meh. That's all I have to say about it. First of all, let's start with the name,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox One X.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but at least when you acronym it up, it's just it just spells out Xbox again. It's just
That was kind of clever, but at the same time,
it's cringy as fuck, man.
a little, a little.
Now, I have to wonder, or is there like a suicide prevention hotline for Xbox fanboys? Because holy shit. The stuff they were saying going into this, like, oh yeah, 4K 60 FPS on the Scorpio, it's gonna make you PC gamers cry. And what I saw was not 4K 60 FPS when they were showing off all that gameplay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not even close. 4K 30 at like the best of times, and 4K 19 during some of the worst of times. Yeah, I'm looking at you, State of K2. I saw that shit.
They should have just shot for 1080 60.
1440 60, I think, was attainable with this hardware. I really did.
Oh, you think so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1440 60 would have been attainable, or even like maybe they had some variance in the frame rate, or they would let it dip down in the 40s, but like aim for 60, or maybe like 1440 like medium to high settings at 60 FPS.
Yeah.
That would have been very doable with this hardware. 4K is a
Mhm.
real struggle, man.
Right. I mean, even if you want to build a PC that's 4K 60 capable, you have to build a significantly substantial PC in order to do that. So I mean, how are you expecting to do that with a console that's around $500? I mean,
Don't get me. Oh, that's the other thing. This price is a little steep. Just a little
yeah.
bit. It's a mid, like a mid-cycle hardware upgrade, and they want $500 for it. And I know they're trying to push this whole like Xbox family thing, but like the One S and the OG Xbox One, they're going to get pushed to the side eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I just think $500 is a little too much to ask, and I think it was Business Insider who were actually saying that it's actually in that price range where it's not that appealing to consumers. And that's a little worrisome, because do you know what the last console they said this about was?
What?
Well, the last home console, at least. It would be the PlayStation 3 when it first launched.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that $600 price tag that kind of caused it to lag way behind the 360 in sales there for the longest time. I think similar things were said about the 3DS with its original launch price, and they were right. The 3DS was too expensive for a handheld,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate to say it, but you might be setting yourself up for failure here. And Sony might even be dropping the price of the PS4 Pro, which I know there's a bit of a difference in hardware there. We'll get into that later, but if they dropped it to like $350, that's a steal. I'd rather get the PS4 Pro.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like better exclusives.
Yeah.
It would handle.
They have exclusives.
Oh, that's true. They actually have exclusives.
I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty excited for Microsoft's segment. The only real reason is because I was like, oh man, can't wait to play like a bunch of these games on my PC.
Oh,
really...
yes. Sea of Thieves, man.
Yeah, that game looks pretty fun, actually.
Now, I think the main point I'm trying to make here is that with all the hype surrounding this hardware announcement, Do you think that the Xbots will finally recognize that Microsoft failed them and does not give a shit about them? They don't care. They seriously, like, Microsoft does not care about you, Xbox fanboys. They don't care. You're
really
not.
Don't.
I mean, do you want to know how much Microsoft cares about you, fanboys? They care about you about as much as Tom Brady cares about Patriots fans. Shots fired. Yeah, here's the thing. Newsflash: no professional athlete really gives a shit about the fans. I'm sorry, I really don't think they do. Most of them that I have met, which hasn't been many, but it's been enough in my experience, they don't really care about the fans.
Yeah. No, I think they're still going to. I still think there's a good number of them that are going to be in denial over the whole thing. I mean, there's certain ones I can definitely just name off the top of my head. I won't, just because they know who they are. but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of funny because I was telling my friend earlier today. I was like, I have this weird feeling that's coming over me. It's like I'm sad, but for other people, it's weird. I don't know.
I used to know that feeling. Now I just either feel indifferent or just angry towards them. It's like it's your own fault. Like you dug this giant hole of disappointment for yourselves, fanboys.
Right. Exactly. But they're gonna backpedal, and then they're gonna be like, oh well, it's still 4K, blah blah, this whoop de whoop, and it's like, well, what happened to 4K 60, huh? It's like, oh well, it's not about frame rate. Frame rate doesn't matter, moving the goalpost as it were. Yeah.
Now down to like the technical specifications and like the differences between this thing and the PS4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
They both share the same Achilles heel, and that is those busted ass Jaguar CPU cores. Okay, listen, folks. These are AMD CPU cores, and AMD, they're the ones who make those awesome Ryzen chips, right? Yeah, these aren't those chips though. These are their old CPUs for laptops, mind you, like really low-end laptops, dating back to like, when was that? I think that dating back to like 2011. That's when the Jaguar CPUs were introduced.
Oh dang!
Yeah, they're old. They're really old, and they're not that powerful. They're really not that powerful. And yes, I get it. They had the chip that's in the Xbox One X. I just want to call it Scorpio still because it's so much fucking easier. But the chip that's in the new fucking Xbox, let's say that, is a highly customized SoC or system on chip. They took the Jaguar cores and shrunk them down to the 16 nanometer manufacturing process. And that's the same process that the GPU is on, which is weird because the Polaris GPUs are on 14 nanometer. I don't know why they aim for 16 with this, but whatever. Maybe they couldn't actually shrink the manufacturing process for the Jaguar cores any further. Who knows? What that does is, yes, it allows for higher clock speeds on the Jaguar CPU. The problem with that is you're still dealing with a console, and there's like a brick wall that you're going to hit with clock speed, and if you go any further than that wall, you're going to run into heat problems. And you can't have overheating issues with the console. Well, you can, but you get the red ring of death. I don't think Microsoft can afford that again.
Right. I mean, another thing is, it's like, oh, we're making them smaller and smaller. They try to like have the smallest footprint possible, so it's like that's not really conducive to, heat management and stuff like that. So. And
I would also say it's not all down to just clock speed. I'm well aware of that. It's the instructions that the processor can process per clock that are really, really low with these CPU cores. It's nowhere near the IPC of like the new Ryzen chips or like anything Intel has made since 2011. It's no comparison. And the PS4 Pro shares the same issue. It's just, it's still in the 28 nanometer process, but that doesn't seem to mean much. All it means is that its processor is slightly lower clocked. When it comes to the GPUs, this is where the Xbox One X does have a pretty big advantage, because all they did for the PS4 Pro was basically bolt on more compute units for the GPU. It's just they doubled the amount of compute units. They gave it a much beefier GPU. it's still an older GPU. Like, I think its equivalent is the Radeon 7870 or 7850, which it's not bad. I mean, you can pick one of those up for like $70. Good little budget GPU for a budget rig. But when it comes to like modern gaming, it's not going to handle like two of them together can kind of do Ultra. Kinda. They're a little limited by the amount of VRAM, but that's not applicable in consoles. Anyway, the Xbox One X has, I think it's essentially very similar to like the Radeon Polaris 10 GPUs, like the RX 480 or the RX 580, just with lower clock speeds. Its clock speed tops out at 1.1 gigahertz. That's decent. That's fine. That's a pretty beefy GPU. That could definitely do 1440. Decently. 4K, it can technically do it, just can't do it very well. 1080p, it smashes 1080p. Here's the problem, though. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's a 900-pound gorilla with 2 broken legs. Because the CPU is a massive bottleneck for the GPU. It was already a bottleneck for the PS4 Pro. And the Pro's GPU isn't quite in the same... Well, it's in the same league, I guess, technically speaking. But it's still not as powerful. Like, there's still a noticeable, like, difference there between the two GPUs. And why would you pair it with such a weak CPU? It's like this... To me, this is a nightmare that Microsoft has done. This is like buying a GTX 1080 and pairing it with a Pentium.
Oh... No.
That's kind of what they've done.
I just don't understand the logic behind this particular console. I really don't.
I think the logic behind it was it'll run some games much better at a higher resolution than what the current Xbox One is capable of. And that people will still end up, well, hopefully buying it, I guess. I guess Microsoft was really... Maybe Microsoft will play in their hand here a little bit with the $500 price tag.
Right.
But I personally, as a hardware geek, I kind of love it and hate it at the same time. I hate it because of the fucking bottleneck. But I just love it because it's so much beefier than the original Xbox One.
It's almost as if they should have just came out with this thing in the first place.
They couldn't have done this in the first place. And honestly, I don't know if they could have stuck with AMD for their CPU and still made this affordable. Because this would have needed Ryzen to really compete if they wanted to still go with AMD. And I don't think Intel is willing to work with console manufacturers. Although they did work with Microsoft with the original Xbox. So, I don't know. Intel's changed a lot over the years. Who knows? I don't think they would go for it. And even if they did, the shit would be really expensive and drive the price of the console up even more. So I think they had financial reasons for not going with a better CPU. But it's still kind of like... I still think it's a bad idea. It's a rush job. They should have just wrote it out and let this be the new Xbox that's replacing the one. Like a year later than expected, and go with a much better CPU. But that's just one guy's opinion. That's one layman's opinion.
Honestly, it's great that they came out with this stronger console and everything like that, but just from a lot of what I've been hearing, a lot of the marketing speak and like, oh, we're doing away with generations and this and that, blah blah blah. I'm like, this very well could be their last console. This might just kind of be their swan song, so to speak. Like,
I would put that last console thing in air quotes, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like. I'm a little skeptical about this particular console. But I mean, it's great that they're making their newer titles available for PC too. So there's that. Hey.
Yeah, Microsoft will live on.
Yeah, one way or another.
Now, I have to touch on some positives. In my opinion, one of the big positives with I've said this before with the Pro, and I think this is true of the Xbox One X as well, is that these consoles will help move PC ports forward a little bit. I don't know if you paid much attention like back during the like the old days of like the 360 and the PS3, but PC ports were kind of being held back by how weak those consoles were. Like the games didn't look as good as they could have. They didn't, they really didn't crank out the visuals the way they could. Like the PC hardware was there to do it. Not every game did it though, because they were held back by fucking consoles. And they were still being held back by consoles to a certain extent because of the PS4 and Xbox One. They were just completely out of date, the year that they launched. And now we have these consoles, which are essentially like mid-range gaming PCs. I think they're close enough now that this will help move us forward when it comes to ports. And for that, I'm happy. I'm also happy that we might be able to normalize 1080-60. Please, Scorpio devs, please make 1080-60 an option on your console.
Make it the baseline at the very least.
Exactly. Don't force 4K 30 on people. Give them the option for 1080-60, please. Do the world a favor.
Yeah, I remember I was one of my buddies was streaming. It was Horizon Zero Dawn, and one of the interesting things about that particular game is that he said he was showing me like the settings and stuff, how you can like either prioritize like graphical fidelity, or if you wanted to like prioritize frame rate, you had settings in order to do that. I mean, if they do something like that moving forward, that could be cool,
Yeah, I would honestly like to see more like PC like settings.
Come FOV sliders and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, really quick,
FOV.
Before I forget, one other really important piece of news about the Scorpio, Xbox One X. God, I can't get used to that. Is we kind of skipped over this earlier when we were talking about like the financial stuff from Business Insider. Apparently, Microsoft is actually losing quite a bit of money selling these for $500 a pop.
I'm not super surprised with that.
Well, most consoles are usually sold at a loss, but the way this article's kind of, I guess to say the way it was presented to me is that it kind of hints that they're losing a lot more than Sony is, like on the Pro.
Oh.
I think maybe that comes down with how customized the chip and everything was, and really how powerful it is, comparatively. Maybe that's why they're losing a lot of money on each unit sold, which they can make it up in game sales. That's usually how this works. They make it up in game sales, no big whoop. But I don't know. I don't think now. Just a little bit of history. Like the Xbox brand has been pretty weak, honestly, for a while. It's been losing Microsoft money for years. Like even during the heydays of the 360, it was still losing the money. So I don't know if this is really going to help with that. From what I understand, what keeps the Xbox division afloat is the fact that it's a pet project of the higher ups.
Interesting.
I'm not saying Xbox is going to go anywhere. I just don't see this really changing their current position versus Sony's. Like when it comes to the console market, I don't think this will change anything. Nintendo made a hell of a splash with the Switch. They really did. Like Nintendo just kind of walked in, at the little dog and spat in the face of both big dogs and said, "We bring the games, bitch." So
they had a lot of good-looking games too.
Oh yeah, Metroid Prime 4.
Oh yes. Even though we just got a logo, that's all we got. That's kind of all we needed, really.
Yeah, that's all we needed. Anyway, I think we're starting to drag on a little bit. We're starting to get into tangents, and don't want this to be, tangent to the video. So I think we should wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, those have been our thoughts on the Xbox One X. My opinions, it's not that great. It's kind of okay. It failed you, Xbots. Your Lord Jesus Savior Scorpio fucking failed you.
I'm looking forward to those ports. That's all I gotta say.
Anyway,
thanks, Microsoft.
Anyway, guys, we'll catch you later. Take care.
Have a good one.